What's up, everybody? It's the Sister City Committee. Oh, what was that reaction?
What
What was that reaction?
I swear to God. Jesus Christ. Are we starting right now?
If you want.
That's up to you.
I mean, I'm down. Let's go. What's
Okay,
up, everyone?
fine.
It's the Sister City Committee. Hold on.
Yeah, you have to start that over. Slurp that. What? Sorry.
What's up, everybody? It's the Sister City Committee.
Okay.
What's up, everyone? It's the Sister City Committee. This is Sister City Committee does. Oh no, Sister City Committee goes to the movies. Sister City Committee watches Enter the Void. That's what this is.
Yes, that's what this is.
Yeah, because that's what the name of the YouTube episode's going to be. So I thought, and I always like that's one thing I'm going to miss. So spoiler alert, right? Spoilers for you, the viewer. At some point, maybe even this episode, who knows? Who knows? Maybe what I'm talking about right now isn't even going to be a thing. But at some point, we're going to stop doing the still image as the overlay, and we're gonna switch over to our cameras, so that you can see our faces while we talk. But what I was trying to say before that was I really like the images that you do, and you put like the Sister City Committee goes to the movie, or Sister City Committee watches, and you put the name, and it's all cute. I love that. It's
Aw. Thank you.
Hi, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for tuning in as always. We're on schedule with our podcasts, aren't we? Like once this one goes out today, there was 2 out last week. We haven't missed a day, have we, in a while? Since
Yeah,
we
no, we haven't. I
Cool.
think we'll be good.
Cool.
We used up our extra. There were 4 extra weeks in the year, and I think we've burned 2 of them, but that's okay.
All right. Okay.
That's okay.
No, that's totally fine. We don't need those weeks. We needed them, but we don't need them.
Yeah. Well, we needed them and we used them and we needed them, so it's okay.
From the intro of the video, what I went over, right? Today is going to be Love Actually. No, today is going to be Enter the Void. Today is Enter the Void. Today is a podcast for the movie Enter the Void, which is a very good movie, right? And Wednesday, for any of our Wednesday viewers, for anyone that tunes in on Wednesday,
Yes.
you're going to get Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. And that will be the last 2 episodes for this month's Drugs, right?
Drugs, illicit
Drugs.
substances, yes.
Drugs. And
what is that?
it's a cat. It's a cat in a TikTok video that goes drugs. What are we doing in March?
Body snatchers.
I'm over February already. I'm so over drugs. No, I'm not really.
I am excited though for the next.
Body snatchers. So explain body snatchers.
That wasn't a theme that we had originally. We had Get Out. I think the only one that we had from March originally was Get Out, and that was going to be in December with our theme about how racism is fucking terrible. And so in March we were going to do.
We was going to do something with The World's End. I know that The World's End was in March originally, or it was somewhere anyway. Was World's End?
No, it wasn't.
Replaced Keanu Reeves. Was that in the original Keanu Reeves area? Or no, was Keanu Reeves toxic females, or was March?
I think we had we had toxic femininity. We had, oh my god, I don't even remember now. Oh wow, why don't I even remember what we did before?
Oh, okay, it's fine.
That's crazy. But no, so we moved things around though because we wanted to get in. We wanted to watch Us, and then we wanted to watch we wanted to watch The Matrix, but we weren't interested anymore in some of the other stuff in that month originally that we were gonna do. I sort of made some reaches and made up this theme. So
Okay.
yeah, which I guess is kind of like the multiple personality thing that we're gonna do in May, because in May that's sort of like a spoiler, I guess, and it's not super like. I mean, the 4 movies that we're going to watch aren't explicitly about body snatchers. It's just you could categorize them as such if you so choose.
March might be a good month because it might be a good month for controversy within the films, right? Because up
Yeah.
until now, I feel like with all of the unconventional romance and with all the drug film that we've watched so far, everything has really fit into its category. You know, we've not watched a film and gone, this really shouldn't have been in drugs. You know, other than maybe Wolf of Wall Street. All of them were like hard drug films.
Shut the fuck up. That movie, there was very little drug use in it. I really don't understand what you're talking about every time. Um,
um,
yeah, yeah. So we could have a little, maybe a little
Yeah, maybe when we get to
more of a
March
split.
with Body Snatchers and we watch the four films, maybe at the end when we're like, did the film fit the category? There might be a few times where we're like, nah, not really.
No, no, it didn't.
You just put it in there because you wanted to. That's all.
I'm just putting those in there to throw you off because you've only seen one of those still.
Yeah, and even The World's End. I'm looking at The World's End and I'm trying to remember the whole thing in my head right now, at this very
Mhm.
moment. Trying to remember The World's End in my head. And I'm trying to think, Body Snatchers in The World's End? Like, I take that as someone getting their body taken control of, right?
Yeah, well, and so that's the thing is that just I mean we may not remember you may not remember this conversation because I was talking about it actually with Andy the other night and trying to qualify what goes in there. I think The Faculty and Get Out both are like definitely okay body
Get Out
snatchers.
for
That
sure, right? Even though I haven't seen Get Out, I've seen
hmm
enough of the trailers because I'm looking forward to doing Get Out and Us because
yeah.
I see the trailers for those two and they look really cool.
hmm
Um, and that's why you messed around with the genres. It's because I wanted to watch those two movies. So you was like,
hmm
oh well, I'll find a way to do both of them.
I got you. Yeah.
Yeah, like Get Out, I can definitely see fitting in Body Snatchers because that's the one where they meet themselves, right? Get Out.
No, it's not.
Oh shit, my bad.
That's the one. See,
Okay.
and so that's why we will discuss it. No, so Us is the one where they meet themselves. Get Out's the one where it's the boyfriend has to go meet the white family.
Oh, and they sort of like the hypnotism thing where they,
Mhm.
yeah, okay. So that, yeah, I can
So
see
that'll
that
be one
fitting
up
in.
for discussion. I think The World's End and Annihilation will be kind of similar in uh, the sort of liberal use of that theme. It's aliens, right?
The World's End is aliens related, right? I
Okay,
don't know
yeah.
about
So
annihilation. Annihilation? How are you saying it?
Annihilation.
Annihilation, okay.
Um,
I'm trying to pronounce the H for no reason
I
whatsoever.
think for those two, it's more like appearance snatching rather than the actual body.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. Wait, I'm trying to remember the film now. Is it Captain Marvel? Where those aliens can make themselves look like humans? Have you seen Captain Marvel, sorry?
No, I
Oh,
haven't. I'm
okay.
sorry.
So in Captain Marvel, there's these aliens from this one country, planet, because there's all these planets in Marvel Universe, right? They can just make themselves look like whoever they want to look like. So they go to Earth and they're walking through a beach and they see these three people and they just make themselves look like them. Sort of that
Is it
type of
just
thing.
the scrolls? It's just the scrolls, right, from the comics?
Yeah, it might be the scrolls. It might be the scrolls. They're naturally like green.
Yeah. Yes.
It turns out that one of them was who does Sammy J play in those films?
Nick Fury?
Nick Fury. One of them was Nick Fury for like the whole film.
Oh, okay. I didn't watch. I stopped watching the Marvel stuff a while ago. I don't remember what I stopped watching it at. So yeah, that's gonna be next month, and I think yeah, there'll be a little bit more debate over whether or not it fits that theme, or maybe what it might have gone into better. But I'm excited because I think it's gonna be a change of pace. Some more upbeat movies. So I don't know if we named them all already. We said Get Out, Annihilation, World's End, and then The Faculty.
To go to World's End again, just because I've seen it already, it is like a comedy thing. It's part of the Cornetto trilogy. All of them are like comedy things, really, aren't they? They're like
They're not downers.
so. The World's End is they go on a booze up, right?
That was like a pub crawl. Do
Yeah,
you
yeah,
call it
it's a
that
pub
there?
crawl.
I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
They try to do a pub crawl for some reason. Maybe someone's getting married. Who knows why they're doing a pub crawl? And yeah, the World's End happens, and they keep on trying to do the pub crawl throughout the whole thing as well. I think, and I think
Mhm.
the last pub in the movie is called the World's End.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, moving on from that, we spoke about March, right? March is next month. Well, March is actually tomorrow, but
But that should be on schedule, right? So I think what we wanted to make sure to mention is that we should be doing it now. From now on, it'll be weekly, right? So we're gonna watch a movie on Monday, and then we'll hopefully upload the same day that we record on Wednesdays.
yeah,
Right. And so there won't be a week in between anymore. Well, not that there, yeah, I guess that for like the past 2 weeks, that was about it.
yeah.
But
So it's like the schedule for the people like that listen. It's I think it's just like they constantly get pods uploaded, right? Whereas for us, it
hmm
was watch two movies, upload two movies, um,
yeah.
as a podcast. Whereas now it's going to be watch watch it on the Monday and
hmm
then review it and upload it on the Wednesday. And
And hopefully that'll make it a little more fresh in our minds too. Easier to talk about.
and at the
Um,
latest, if something doesn't get uploaded on a Wednesday, at the latest it will get uploaded on a Thursday.
yeah.
But the goal should always, will hopefully always be like record it and upload it on the Wednesday. But like something might come up and it can't be done.
Okay. So let's talk about Enter the
Let's talk
Void.
about Enter
That's
the
what we're
Void.
here for.
Yeah, sure.
Yes. How long was this movie? I do want to start with that just
I was going
for
to ask
starters.
you that, right? Because like I don't know, I don't know who directs it or when it came out or how long it is. So I mean, if you want to tell me those things,
No, so I can always butcher his name, even though he's one of my favorite directors. But it's Gaspar no way no
no
um
way.
no way. He did he did Irreversible, which we're gonna watch in April. The other ones that he's done we won't be watching this time, but Climax came out in 2018, and he did a movie this last year called Vortex. But Enter the Void came out in 2009. I cannot believe it's been that long. That's crazy to me. So
2009 film. Wow.
this is over 10 years old now. Um, and the cut, when I was trying to go back and kind of make notes on this after we watched it to kind of organize my thoughts because it jumps around a lot. Um, I was like, what is this stuff about him getting in a car after he was or before he's cremated or something. I was reading a description and it was including a scene in a cut that we didn't watch. And I haven't actually seen that cut.
All
I
right.
guess there was a longer version that was released. And you'd think with me liking this movie so much, I would have seen that cut, but I guess the director said himself that he'd cut an amount out of it. There's like three different scenes or so, something about that around that he cut, and then it doesn't really make any difference to the narrative. But I guess there's supposed to be a part where it's like the main character imagines himself actually living, and then but people treat him weirdly as if like they should be relieved that he's alive, but they're not treating him that way, I guess. I don't know. Uh,
Okay.
it might have been,
That would have been cool.
it, yeah, but that's what I was gonna say is that like that made me realize that there were two different
There's two
there are two
different
different
movies.
versions. Yeah, so the long version was 161 minutes, but the version that we watched was 143 minutes.
So
Um,
just over an hour and a half. No, no, I'm doing maths
two
wrong again.
hours.
2 hours. 2 hours.
Yeah, two
It didn't
hours.
feel, and I feel like I have to say that every time you say how long a movie was. I feel like I have to say that. It didn't
Yeah,
feel like 2 hours. Because the thing is, like, sometimes you get a movie that was an hour and a half, and for some reason felt like it was longer than an hour and a half, because it just felt like a drag. Or like you'll get
yeah,
the 3 hour films or the 4 hour films that we have watched, one of each, right? We've watched a 3 hour and a 4 hour, and the
that's
four
true.
hour definitely felt like 4 hours. Even though it was a good film,
hmm
I knew I was sitting there for fucking 4 hours. That's all it was.
Oh,
I never at no point just stopped. Like, because with a film that's an hour and 40 minutes, like this one, or not an hour and 40 minutes, 140 minutes, 2 hours with like this one, I was just able in this one to lose myself and forget that it was being 2 hours. Whereas sometimes you can't. Some films. This was a good film for sure.
um, well, for me, like I said, I think, and I'll talk about this here in a bit, but on the note of how long it was for me, it kind of felt a little long this time,
Oh, really?
and I wasn't expecting to feel that way, but I felt like I don't know. Uh, this is strange for me to revisit a movie that I held in really high regard and not necessarily feel the same way anymore. Um,
Yep.
so I don't know, but we'll get to that. So you hadn't seen it before, but you said you enjoyed it. Did you enjoy it, or did you
Yeah,
just
that's what I
like
was saying. Like it was
find
two
it
hours, 140
technically?
minutes, and I didn't sit there and think, oh, when's this going to be
Yeah.
over? I was into it. Um,
Okay. Okay.
and there were parts where I was being drawn in. There were parts where I was being drawn in and then made jump because I was so into the film. I was
Oh
so
yeah.
into it that when a jumpy part happened, it actually made me jump because I was focusing. I was focusing on what's happening. I was trying to follow everything, and then it would be like a cutscene to a car crash, or it would be a cutscene to screaming in someone's face, and those bits made me jump every time. And that was because I was into the film. I enjoyed it a lot.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's yeah.
This is
Um,
the type of film that you you do need to. I think you need to concentrate, right? You need to try and follow the plot. You can't you can't miss it. I don't think you can't miss a bit.
I think that yeah, I think you're talking about like being just really engaged with what you're watching is kind of the point of it. Since a lot of it's POV, since a lot of it's, based on like trying to present like drug trips and stuff. Um, I think that it's a technically it's a technical achievement of a film. Um,
Yeah.
just from an objective standpoint. But yeah,
Um.
we'll get into that. Let me pull up the timer.
Yeah, no worries. So, I mean, we'll talk about this. We won't edit this out or anything. The viewers already know we're doing the timer thing. We like the timer thing. We're going to carry on doing the timer
We
thing.
really do.
We like it.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you like it because it makes shorter episodes. Um, the timer's good. I, as great as it was having those. I don't know if it's 3 or 4 movies that we just banged on about for 2 whole hours. Um, as
It was
great as
three
that
of them.
was, it 3 of them? It was 3 of them that
Yes.
we went on for 2 hours, and I don't regret that. But just when you're trying to give listeners like food for thought, or when you're trying to keep
Mhm.
listeners interested, 2 hours of us rambling just isn't it.
Yeah. I would have to agree. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and start this. Okay,
Cool.
so more in-depth plot. Let's. This movie jumps around a lot, though.
Yeah,
Um,
but like
so like
talk
where?
about it in. So just talk about it in the chronological order, right? Talk about it in the order of the film. Like instead
Well,
of
okay,
instead of
so we
watching.
we yeah we open with that amazing credit sequence, which is not part of the plot, but that credit sequence is amazing, because it just drops you right into it. There's like a little bit of introduction, like the flashing you get, uh, and then it's that neon loud music, just
Oh
and
yeah,
then
I know what you're talking about. That yeah, because yeah. I remember the intro now.
I
I remember the
I've
intro. It's
played
coming back
that
to me
like
as you talk about it.
yeah.
Um,
And then it fades into the apartment, Oscar's apartment, who's our main character.
mhm.
Um, and so I think he's seeing his sister off. That's where we start. She's going to work.
Yeah, they were on a
Um,
banister. He points up at a plane. He says,
mhm.
I'd love to be in that one day, wouldn't you? And she says, no, it seems scary. Um, and then she's on her way out, and he's like, and she says to stop speaking to someone because they're just using him for drugs or whatever. I think it's Victor that she's talking about. She's talking about Victor there, I think.
Yeah, overall, she seems to just chastise him, and we see it more
Yeah,
throughout, but chastise him for being involved with drugs.
yeah.
And so he he just they it doesn't say what it is until like later on, right? But we find out what he smokes. Like he lays down and he smokes DMT.
hmm
And so we follow him on, I don't even know how long. I should have timed it, but there's a very long
Well, how long the
drug.
trip is, yeah.
Yeah.
The trip was long,
Um,
and going back to what I said at the beginning, where I said like I got engrossed in the film and I was really into it, and like it draws you in. The trip was just, I felt a little bit bored during that bit. Like I was briefly looking over at my phone, like, oh, this is going on for a while. Holy shit.
Yeah. I mean, it this it I hate to compare it to this, but for me, because I haven't done hallucinogens, I can't I don't know. I don't see a lot of value in seeing the image like that. It's great for the movie, of course, but I can't really connect with it, and so I just get reminded of like the Windows Media Player visualizer. I
All
don't know
right,
if
yep.
you ever.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
This is kind of what it is. But it looks a lot better. It's not, there's a lot of money I think that they put into the special effects in this movie. I think that the director said that they're like every single frame of the movie is somehow altered with special effects, which I mean I can of course see. Um, but he goes on the drug trip and then his phone rings and that snaps him out of it. And it is Victor, who is a character that he's friends with, I guess. I mean, we'll
At the beginning of the film,
elaborate more
Victor is
on.
portrayed as a friend, right? Like
Yeah.
for a very short period of the beginning of the film, he's portrayed as his friend, calls him
Yeah.
up, and he's like, "Oh, can you bring me some drugs?" And Victor seems, I say he's portrayed as a friend, but Victor seems like a bit of a dick on the phone. He's like, "Oh, bring me the drugs. Come to me," because he doesn't want to go to him. He's like, "No, I'm not coming to
Yeah.
you. Bring them to me."
And so you kind of learn through this that there's stuff that I mean, this gets elaborated on after this whole opening sequence, but um, you can tell there's tension there, and
Yeah.
so Oscar sobers up, or he tries to make himself sober up pretty quickly. We get some cool shots where he goes in the bathroom and you can see through his eyes into the mirror. That was cool,
When they
actually, as
did that
simple
bit,
as
I
it is.
was totally expecting him to look up and be holding a camera to record himself. Like, obviously, I know it wasn't because that's it's,
Yeah.
but like it's a POV. It's not. But like, I was just like, how are they? Just because of the camera work. That's all I'm talking about.
Hmm.
It's like I was just fully expecting him to be holding up a camera to see himself. I wasn't. But yeah, there was no
Like,
camera there to.
how are they going to explain?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because I think it's really, it's kind of subtle. But I think I had to call attention to it for you. That
Yeah, because I said,
him
is this
blinking.
supposed to be? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly you said about the blinking. Like, yeah, because I said, is this supposed to be him recording it like a POV recording movie? And you was like, no, it's
Yeah.
supposed to be his perspective because you can see the blinking. And then I realized when he blinks, yeah,
Hmm. I mean, when we've already seen a lot of flashing lights, who knows, right? um, but so he tries to sober up, and then another friend comes up, Alex,
yeah,
and he goes with him. I don't remember why he was there. Was he there to see his sister?
yeah. Alex was there to see the sister. I think he wasn't there for
I
any
know he
drugs because
asked
Alex
about
has
her.
some. I think it was to see the sister because he knocks
Okay.
on the door and Oscar does this whole thing where he walks up to the door and he's like, oh, I need to unlock the door, and he unlocks the door and he opens it, and Alex is there and he's like,
Well,
oh,
because
is your sister here?
yeah, that's the kind of the cool thing is you get some of his thoughts too.
Yeah,
And but you can tell he's not like when you get the POV shot in the bathroom, you can tell that he's not saying all of them because he frets over the lock, I think, at first when he lets his sister out or something like that. I don't know.
yeah, yeah.
Anyway, so he grabs the drugs out of the little mini fridge that he has, and then they go and they take off down a bunch of stairs. You follow them all the way. It's like it's supposed to be kind of like one take, I mean, besides the blinking and everything.
Hmm.
Um, and they just walk through the streets to the club that they're going to go to, the nightclub that he's going to meet Victor at.
Yeah, just to
And
rewind
so,
a little bit there, just to add
yeah.
a little bit extra, because on the way down the stairs, Oscar asks Alex about a book that he gave him, and Alex is explaining what the
Oh, yeah.
book is about. Because this was a big part for me in the film, because I feel like Alex explains what this book is about, and I don't know why, but for some reason I took the book as symbolism, and I was like, I thought that everything that happens to Oscar after his death was supposed to be because of what the book is about, and I'm pretty sure that that is what it was. I don't know, because Alex was explaining the book to him, and he was like, "Oh, it's supposed to be this thing where when we die, we can just we watch everything that happens around us afterwards, or something." Um,
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
Alex was talking about the book, right? and then that is what happens to Oscar. Because carrying on with what you were saying, Oscar goes to Victor to give him the drugs. It was a setup. He runs into a toilet, gets shot. He's dead for the rest of the film. But then we watch the rest of the film from his perspective, or like his
Right.
or like we're watching the rest of the film as his ghost watching
His
everybody.
soul, I think,
Yeah,
yeah.
which is what the
Um,
book was about that Alex was talking about, I think.
yes. Yeah. So, because I don't really know much about it, but it's like that's, I guess it's a Buddhist book, right? About the afterlife and how I think you're supposed to experience it or how one would experience it. Um, if you experience any sort of consciousness after death. And so that's the idea is that uh, he did DMT, which I don't know if they talk about it. I think they mention it. It's I guess whatever the chemical is in DMT is similar to the chemical that, or is the chemical when you die that gets released. I don't know about DMT. I'm
I know
not.
nothing about drugs.
Yeah, I don't know
Sorry.
anything about that.
I'm
No,
sorry, I can't help that.
I can't. I know they talk about it though, and so it's just that's like the theme of the movie, I guess, is it's just a lot about death and dying and what
It is
happens
also a lot about
afterwards. And
drugs as well,
so,
because this was a drugs themed movie, and it is
yeah, it's a
the film is
catalyst.
a lot about drugs because
Well, he
drugs
deals
is the
them.
whole reason that Oscar is there in the first place. He deals them, he takes them.
So yeah, so he goes into the club. Alex has to wait outside, because he doesn't want to fuck around with that stuff. You learn very quickly Alex is not really into the whole drug scene, even though he's kind of facilitated a lot of it for Oscar. And then, yeah, like you said, it was a setup. So when he gets there, Victor is immediately like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And then you hear the cops coming, and so he shuts himself into the little one hole, nasty bathroom and starts to try to flush all the drugs that he has down the little hole in the floor. And the cops are banging on the door. And it's all from his point of view still. And then I don't know why. I don't know why he said this. I don't know
He
if it's
said, "I've got a
because,
gun," right?
why would you say that? I'm sorry, not to be immediately critical, but he does say that.
What do you mean by
And
why would you say that? Like it was stupid of him to say that, or
I think
that the
so.
director was like, oh right, right, okay.
And
Because I was
no, I mean,
wondering
I
if you
think
meant
it's
it as in like, oh,
intentional.
no one would really say that. The director's an idiot for adding it.
No, no, no,
Like,
no, no, no. I think I
right.
think someone who's panicking maybe and thought that maybe they could get some sort of
Because you
upper
think
hand
you're
in the
trying to get
situation.
leverage by saying I've got a gun, right?
Yeah. But it's like you realize so quickly, well, what could go wrong when you say that, especially I think the way they present Japan, Tokyo, and
I
especially
swear,
in
like
this movie is
literally
very.
any country that's not England, armed forces have guns. I swear, I swear, right? Like, and if you're in a little cubicle and you say I've got a gun, they're gonna just shoot you through it. Like, yeah,
Yeah. But I think that's something that they, as they're walking along, you kind of get it, and then as we get some flashbacks, you kind of get it. There's the idea that Tokyo and Japan, they're very against drugs. They're very they seek that stuff out. You have to be really careful if you're going to be a dealer over there. And Alex even says those things to Oscar. You just got to be careful.
yeah.
Um,
I mean,
and
Alex
so
tells him not to do it. Really,
yeah,
doesn't he? He's like, don't
even
do
though
that.
he hooks him up, he does hook him up though.
Yeah,
So he takes him to meet these people. But anyway, so he gets shot and he dies. But you're there with him as this happens, and so there's, camera stuff, special effects. It's basically there's a lot of noises, a lot of flashing lights. I think it's just something that's worth experiencing and seeing for yourself. But it, basically, it's implied that his soul leaves, but you're following his soul, and so he comes about like in his. I don't even know what you want to refer to it. I guess you can just say it's him. He's starts to pass over things. He's looking at everyone around him. He starts following around. I don't even remember where they immediately cut to
they
after
cut
that
to
part.
his sister. Well, what they cut to
Hmm.
is Victor running out, going crazy
Yeah,
because they shot him. Alex seeing him go crazy.
and then
Alex
he takes
asks what
off.
happened. He says they shot him. Alex then sprints off, gets his phone out, calls his sister, can't get through to his sister. Then it cuts to his sister at a nightclub, and then it cuts to his sister having sex with Mario,
She's a
and
stripper.
then she gets
So
cream
she's
pied by
stripping, yeah.
Mario.
Stop. You make it sound so vulgar. So yeah, that's what it is. She's no, okay, so she's a stripper. So goes to the strip club. Yeah, there's a guy there who we find out is like the owner, I think, or the manager of the strip club.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
they have sex, and she's getting the phone call while this is happening. But after he leaves, then she listens to the voicemail. Is it the voicemail?
It ended up being a voicemail. Yeah,
Yeah, they didn't actually talk to each other.
yeah.
Um,
After he
finding out.
finishes his business inside her, um,
Uh,
and
which, by the
leaves.
way, it's worth noting, I guess.
It's a very important piece
Oscar
to.
flies into Mario's head, the guy she's sleeping with, so that he can see his point of view
Oh right.
as they're sleeping together.
I did not
Um,
know that.
yes, so
What,
there's a
during
little
that
bit of
part?
mhm.
Oh right. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So there's well, because there's that part, like, because you can kind of see. Well, it is. It looks like point of view of like him fucking her, but that's just one of many instances of weird incest subtext that we see in the movie. There's a lot of it. Usually not from him though. Mostly just from her, but that's whatever. We'll get to that. Um,
Carrying on, she
but then
listens to the
yeah.
message on the answer phone, and
So
she finds out the news
anyway,
about him
so
being dead.
it's just it carries on from there.
Yeah, it
So
carries on.
he watches like the repercussions of everything, but it's intercut with how he got to where he was at. And there's a lot of flashbacks where we see, how his parents died, or their parents, I guess, him and his sister's parents died when they were young in a car crash. I think we re-experienced that car crash like 3 times throughout the whole movie. It's just as traumatic every single time. So they get split up and sent to separate homes, and um, they don't show much after. So there's nothing really between when they get split up and when we see Oscar again, and we find out just the very recent backstory before we meet him at the beginning of the movie, where he decided to start selling drugs in order to get his sister over there to stay with him.
Hmm.
And so that was sort of the reason why everything happened, was that he sold he started selling drugs. Alex hooked him up with someone to do that, and I think well he that's not entirely how he got the money. So do you want to introduce how he got a big portion of the money?
Yeah, so sure. A lot of them, a big portion of the money was from Victor's mother. Um, yeah, Victor we spoke about Victor already. Um, we've obviously at this point of the film only seen Victor in a bad light, but before all of that, him and Victor were good friends. They were like close friends. They were best friends, maybe. Um, and I guess there was a part where Oscar goes over to Victor's place to see Victor and his parents, and then the mum seems to have a thing for Oscar, right? She
Yeah.
wants to have sex with him, and I guess as a bribe. I don't. I'm trying to remember it while also just explaining it, but I'm not sure if it was as a bribe or if it was just as to sweeten the deal. But yeah, she was like, "Oh, I'm happy to pay for it for you," but it feels like there's like this "if you have sex with me" sort of vibe, right? Um, so
Yeah.
they fuck,
Mhm.
um,
Yeah.
and that helps him get the rest of the money. And then he comes out of the shower after having sex with a towel wrapped around his waist, and he's talking to his friend Victor, and Victor sort of like knows what's happened because of that. Like he's seeing that, and he's because Victor doesn't get told by Oscar or
I
by.
think and I think more it's like that part too was him kind of admiring Oscar, but then having that horrible realization. Because I think that the reason why we were going to talk about some of that, just to go on that very specific scene you're talking about. I think that he was attracted to him.
Yeah, you've said that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think that in that moment, like, and just realizing all those things at once made him very angry and vindictive.
Hmm.
And then decide to set all that shit up. But he hits him in the face with like a bottle, doesn't he?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
There is a part
remember
where he
that.
smashes a bottle over someone's head. I
Yeah.
remember. I know. I think I know what you're on about. Yeah, there is a part where Victor gets really angry. Um,
I think he hits Oscar in the face with a bottle. Um, or in the head with a bottle. Um, but that's the whole reason why that happens, I guess. And then you see the fallout after that. After Oscar gets killed, what happens after that? Alex, I think, is like AWOL for
There
I
is
don't remember how long.
so there's a lot of flashbacks because what
Yeah,
happened is we get the scene where Oscar dies, and then we see Victor freaking out. We see Alex tell Linda, but then we get another flashback, and it's like Victor also goes and tells his parents that Oscar
yeah,
got
that's
killed, and
true.
it was his fault. And his mum
Hmm.
starts waving a knife at him, screaming. Uh, and then the dad intervenes, and like he's just like yelling for Victor to go to his room. Um, and Victor's like shouting that she's a slut. She slept with Oscar. Um, so we see that bit as well, which again was just another flashback. It's just it tries to show us all of the perspectives of all of these
Well, I
people
think
after
that's
the
him,
death.
like, I think that's why we see all those shots of his, like, it picks up and then it's going over like walls and stuff. That's supposed to be him, like, going to find. I don't know how, when you die, you would know, but he knows how to go find those people and he just watches them,
Yeah.
is the idea. Yeah. Um, and then it's so all over the place, so it's really hard to kind of talk about in any sort of linear manner. Um,
So
it
I've
makes sense when you watch it.
uh, it was a really big deal with the whole Linda getting the Linda and Mario sex scene that
Mhm.
I talk about where he inseminates her, whatever cringe word. Um, like where he them two having sex leads to her being pregnant. So then she
Yeah.
has to go and get a abortion. She does that, and then she very briefly afterwards tries to kill herself by ODing.
I think
Then
that was
led to another
before.
part where where the OD didn't work,
I
and
don't know
then
why I thought that was beforehand. I think we even were discussing how confusing that was, right?
yeah, that scene was
Like,
really confusing with the ODing thing because at this part of the film, it kept on flashing back, and then it kept flashing forward, and then it went back again, and then like
they don't
when
really talk about it, right? Like, they don't really
yeah, no, they
focus
just show us a
on.
really brief
Yeah.
scene where she tries to OD.
Like, she's in a park and then, like, a kid finds her and she's
Yeah,
like, she has pills in her hand and, like, that's all you see of it.
that's all you see of it. But
Yeah.
I don't really find it easy to understand at what part of the film she's supposed to be ODing. Did she OD because her brother had just been killed, or did she try to OD because of the abortion, or
I
was it
think it was
something
because
else?
I think the way it was supposed to be was that because I think from what I remember, it was that happened before. I don't know if it happened after she found out she was pregnant or whatever, but uh, I think she tried to kill herself because her brother died. She was really unhappy, and we get some scenes of her like with Mario, where Mario comes and sees her in her apartment, and she just is upset and distraught. She's really distraught over it, obviously, because that's the only person she really had, despite
Yeah,
her relationship with Mario. And so yeah, and so on the whole thing about Tibetan Book of the Dead and reincarnation. So the abortion scene, I guess, is sort of significant because that might be where he's trying to. When that happens, that's a sort of a loss of him being able to come back in this, like in that moment,
yeah,
until
no,
the
that
very
makes
end of the
sense.
movie,
Yeah,
right? Because he tries to kind of go into, I guess, that whole. I don't know if he tries to go into the dead baby, but he like comes out of her there's a part where you were like, is that a what I think it is? Because he like zooms out and
yeah, it was
it's
a fetus, right?
well, no, it was her like pubic hair, remember? And you were like,
Oh,
oh, I
right.
was right, that's what that was. And then she was up on the table
Yeah.
being examined for the
Oh, right,
abortion.
because what happened?
Yeah.
Oh, like this was so funny. There's a part of the film where it's like fully zoomed in on a belly button, and
Yeah.
it's literally zoomed in all the way on just the belly button. And I knew from the split second I saw it that it was a belly button, and it zoomed out very slowly, and then you see the pubic hair in it as well. And I went, "Oh, that's what I thought it was."
Yeah, yeah. And so I think that's what that part was, is him trying to come back, because that's the idea. Because it all like culminates at the end of the movie in
I never
him
thought of it that way.
being,
That's a really
yeah.
cool observation. Or if you
But I
read that
think
somewhere or something, but that's really cool.
no,
Yeah.
yeah, I just think that's what that's supposed to be, especially just considering the end of it. So,
Okay.
um, yeah. So after sometime after that, though, Alex comes out of hiding because Alex is in hiding because he has connections to all these people,
Yeah.
and the police are trying to figure out who the supplier is.
A lot of people
Which,
went into hiding after the thing, didn't they? Like, even Bruno.
yeah, which I guess he's the one who's the worst of them all. Not that we really see him do anything really. It's just he's so everything you hear about him, and then the snippets you see whenever Oscar goes over to his place, or when Alex talks about him, it's all just it makes you feel awful.
Yeah, yeah.
He's just a
Bruno's like
fucking
gross.
ugh.
um,
Yeah.
but like there was even a bit where Bruno is at Mario's bar, and I think Mario says to him, "What are you gonna do for a while or something?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm just gonna lay low, just in
Hmm.
case Victor said anything." Because this Victor guy just seemed like he was going to grass on everybody at this point, right? Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, Bruno got worried. Alex hid for a while, like you
And
said.
then think we don't see Alex until I think he I think he calls like he gets someone to bring him a phone and a coat because it's cold out. I remember. Um, and he calls. That's when he's able to call Linda again,
I
the
can't
sister
remember
again.
at what point Alex comes back, or even I can't remember the scene that you're talking about.
It's right before the Love Hotel scene
Yeah,
where
because
because
it
he
is
goes.
basically at the very end that he finally reappears, right? He gets in a car,
Yeah, because what it
gets
is that I think he had to trash his phone that he had initially called her with.
right.
And so then you see him a few times where he's like just huddled up by a fire, like shivering. That's all they really show you. And then the friend, it's I don't know if it's the boyfriend or the roommate of one of the other strippers, who is friends with Alex. That's how I think they all know each other. He finds him and brings him a coat and a phone, and he calls Linda again, and Linda comes to pick him up in a taxi. And then from there, I think immediately she starts like kissing him. They hug or something, but then she starts kissing him, and then they go to the Love Hotel, and
Yeah,
then that's that big sequence where there's all those people fucking, and like you see Victor like sucking dick, and like just a ton of shit going on, which is yeah near the end, I guess. Um,
and that's all at the end of the film, and that's the final scene, isn't it? That bit.
and that's the part that's I guess open for interpretation, right? Does Oscar come back? And who does he come back as? Is it himself again, or is it his sister's kid, or is it what? You don't really know, because that's what it ends with. The movie ends with the birth, right?
Yeah, yeah, it does.
Um, I think one thing I do want to talk about for the characters, the acting, I think is I don't know. So Linda is played by an actress named Paz de la, I don't know how to say her name, Paz de la Huerta, I think. Um, She the actress is great at portraying the type of person Linda is, but she's very melodramatic. Um, and I think that Alex and Oscar they were not actors before. I think, as far as I know, the person who played Alex was just a fan of the director,
Okay.
and the director really liked just his demeanor and was like, "Oh, he's perfect," because of the way he spoke. He felt was like natural for that type of person. Because he's French, I think. It's a very thick accent in the movie, and you understand what he's saying, but
Yeah.
um, he's just like, yeah, he's that side friend in the movie. Um, I know the actress who played Linda though is a professional actress. I just don't know a lot of what she's been in, to be honest. And then I think the actor who plays Victor is a musician now. I
All
don't know
right.
if he was an actor.
I will
And then I
say
think
that
yes.
I know, because you sent me a little screenshot of Mario. That
Oh yeah.
whoever plays as Mario is like in all of the director's stuff or something like that, right? Or help.
Oh no, he was so when I what was his name? Damn it. His name is Masato I cannot. I don't want to butcher names. He's like one of the only Japanese main actors in it. A lot of despite it taking place in Tokyo, we don't get to know many of the Japanese characters in it. Mario is really the only one. But he's actually he directs. I don't he directed like I think the Itchy the Killer prequel,
Yeah, so
but
the
he
screenshot you sent me was it was saying
yeah,
that Mario worked for Takashi Mike on a bunch of films
Miike.
that you like. Oh, Miike,
Yeah,
not
so
Mike.
he was
Okay.
the assistant director on Gozu, Dead or Alive Final, Happiness of the Katakuris, City of Lost Souls, Itchy the Killer, which is crazy because I mean those are all the movies that like got me into movies really. I mean I love movies, but like they got me into foreign movies and got me to really appreciate films. I probably wouldn't have watched Enter the Void if I hadn't seen like Itchy the Killer or Happiness of the Katakuri. So that was really cool to see. I had no idea. I don't know. It was just that's a really interesting tidbit for him to. I mean, I guess it would make sense with all these like, directors of more extreme stuff, but I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think that the performances are serviceable though overall. Is there anything that you thought was stand out about it? I mean, it's just it's more like the visuals and the editing and the
Yeah, I mean, like the thing
music
is,
that's like the experience.
it was acceptable acting, right? It wasn't or plausible, you know. I don't know what the word
Yeah.
is that I want. It wasn't terrible. It's not like the acting took away
It was
from anything.
serviceable.
It was serviceable. Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
what you already said as well.
Yeah.
I think probably anybody could have been in those roles, but they all did good jobs, right?
I mean, I think that if to be honest, if I try to think of like
And I'm not even saying
really
big actor name, right? What I'm trying to say is
yeah.
you said that Oscar and Alex weren't actors before this film, right?
Mhm.
There could have been anybody. It could have been any old Joe. They could have gone,
Yeah.
"Hey, you, can you come do this role?" And like, obviously, you'd have to audition and prove that you can do the
You know,
role. But like,
I would have to wonder, I guess, and I don't know what you would think about this, but I'd have to wonder if and I think we had this discussion with like Leonardo DiCaprio and maybe some other actors where it's like when they act, would it detract from the role? I think that you have to be really careful with some of the actors in a movie like this, that if they were like really charismatic, it sounds horrible, but if they were like too charismatic, it might detract from what the director was trying to do. Because I don't think that's really what they were supposed to be.
I
They
can
were
see
really
that.
supposed to be just
Yeah, I can
like
see what you're trying to
regular
say.
people.
If the
Yeah.
acting was too good, it takes away from what else is supposed to be happening.
Well, like if they're too they have like too much quirkiness,
Yeah. If
They're
they
not just
become
regular
too
people.
relatable or likable or like, yeah.
Something, it's just it's supposed to be a very despite it obviously being a fantastical sort of idea, it's it's supposed to be kind of very bleak and realistic in terms of the people that we're following.
Hmm.
So I think it would have been difficult. So I what I'm going to talk about I touted this movie a lot. I was like, "Oh, this movie's like in my top 10." I love this movie. And when I first saw it, I loved it. And I already like this director a lot. Irreversible was on my top 10. I think it still is. And I keep saying top 10 as if it's like this big thing. For me, it is. I take it very seriously. I'm trying to think the last time I saw this movie all the way through. I think it had been at least 5 years, if not like 7 years, since I had seen this movie all the way through. And I I kind of didn't like it this time, which was really surprising for me. And I don't know if it's just where I'm at now in life. It again, it's very technically, it's objectively good in my opinion. Um, but I thought it was so fucking depressing.
Oh, right, the second time or the
Yeah.
yeah.
It like the depressing shit in it was so much for me this time that I felt like it took away from the enjoyment of the way the movie looked.
All right.
Um, which was kind of upsetting because I remember loving the movie so much and I was excited to rewatch it and to show it to you, but
Yeah. And I'm glad the same thing didn't happen with Love Actually in that sense, because
You keep saying Love Actually, Love Exposure.
Love Exposure. So no, Love Actually that time was an accident, but Love Actually at the beginning was on purpose.
Right. Oh, okay, okay.
Um, sorry, I meant so Love Exposure. I'm glad the same thing didn't happen with Love Exposure because you wanted to show me that one, didn't you?
Yeah.
And you say you've told me before that you love telling people about that film, but you're also slightly embarrassed by it sometimes. But like I'm glad that us rewatching Love Exposure didn't make you sit there and reevaluate that. It's still the number one film
Yeah,
for you, right? Whereas this
yeah,
one was second, and it took a bit of a hit after watching it again.
yeah. Well, I looked at it again, I think at the end of last year when I'd rewatched Heathers and something else. And Heathers wasn't in my top 10. I put Heathers up there. I know it's a completely unrelated movie, but just in terms of like favorite movies. Um, I think Enter the Void was like number two, and then I moved it to number four. I think I'm just gonna take it off the list. That's horrible to say, but it's just like I don't know.
It went from 2 to 4 to you thinking that you don't even like it that much anymore. Damn.
That's horrible. And that's really horrible to say. It's a really good movie. It is a really good movie, but it's like
Well, just because it's not in your top 10 doesn't mean it's not a good movie, right? It just
no, yeah, no. It's just for me. I think what it is like for a movie to be in my top 10, like I don't know, it has to make me feel something.
well, it did. It made you feel depressed.
Well, positive. Something positive. I want to feel a positive feeling, I guess.
Yeah,
And I didn't feel anything positive rewatching it, and that's horrible. And it's very, I think that's very personal. I don't expect everyone to watch it to go, this is just depressing. I think even I brought it up to my husband. I said, man, the movie, I don't remember it being that depressing. He's like, what are you talking about? It's not depressing. I'm like, what?
do
He
you
thought it was
think
very like,
do you
huh?
think that you could look back to the first time you watched it and try to remember what got it so high for you in the first place? Because watching
I
it
don't
now, you're
know.
just like, why was that so high? It's so depressing. But surely something back then must have made you go, this is like a top 10, number two film for me.
I have to wonder if it's just, it sounds so fucking angsty, but it's like I have to wonder if it's just like any sort of life experience or events between those times. Like I don't know if maybe I have a bleaker outlook on things or maybe not. Maybe I have less of a I don't know. I found myself strangely enough like whenever I am doing better mentally, I have a lower tolerance for things that are depressing.
Yeah,
Um, and I think when I first saw it, I was not in a good place. And I don't know if maybe then I related to it more, or it made it feel better to watch. And like now I feel like I'm doing a lot better mentally. And so when I watched it, it was a little bit intrusive. Which I don't know, it's just an odd feeling for it to for it to make me feel that way. Because I don't know, I feel like, even with Irreversible, for some reason I don't see that happening with Irreversible.
oh, we'll
I
see.
know Ir I know Irreversible is just fucking like I mean that's like the bleakest of the bleak in my opinion. Um I don't expect to I don't know. And here I am saying like, oh, to be in my top 10 I have to feel something positive. What is there positive to feel about Irreversible? I think, that's a shorter movie though, and I think in terms of camera work, it's just that alone is a lot for me. Like
Yeah.
it made me feel something. But for this, there's a lot of special effects.
Yep.
I just can't engage with it as much.
Oh wow.
I don't know.
To
I don't know.
to move on, because something I wanted to talk about with this film,
Yeah.
um, and I know that we don't usually do symbolism, even though we've mentioned it a couple of times before. We mentioned like the jacket being a symbol in one previous film,
Mm.
and we like will jokingly touch on symbolism. But for me, for some reason, the book in this film was a big thing for me. Um, for a lot of reasons, because like when Alex explains to Oscar what the book meant, I then for some reason that whole scene stuck with me throughout the whole film. So I thought a lot. I thought way too much in depth about this book. Um, and I mean, another thing for me is the way that Oscar was constantly banging on about this book as well. Like he was telling his sister about it. I don't know if he tells Victor about it, but he's like, "Oh yeah, Alex gave me this really cool book, and it's about so and so. I really need to finish it. I need to read it." Um, but just never actually getting around to reading it. That's such a me thing. Um, it's such a me thing. Like I'm the same way. Like even with just books that I'll go out of my own way to buy and then never read. and just if someone else has read it, just tell me what it was about. If because getting into a book is a bit hard for me.
And then talk to everybody like you've read it or something, or you've experienced it in some
Yeah, like
like
read.
you're already recommending it even though you haven't read it.
I've read like 2 pages. I read the blurb on the back, and I read 2 pages, and I'm like, guys, you got to read this book. It's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same. Like, I have tried so many times to get into books. I've gone and bought books that I thought would interest me. Like one time, I went and bought a book about um, what's the game that's about Assassin's Creed. One time, I went and bought an actual book, not a manga or anything, an actual book, an Assassin's Creed book that was
A
just like,
novelization.
yeah, a novelization of
Yeah.
the game. And I read about 3 pages of it, was totally into it, and then I just go, oh fuck reading this book. I can't bring myself to read any of the Harry Potters, even though I'm not sure if I still do. But I don't think I do. But at one point, owned all of them. Literally owned all of the Harry Potter books, but hadn't read a single page out of any of them. But I'd recommend them. You know, I'm like, read the Harry Potter book. It's way better than the film. The film missed parts that the book has. Read the book. Uh, that's a me thing.
Oh my gosh. That's See, and you know how I avoid that though, and it's not any better to be honest. I don't I have like 10 books that I've continually read. I just read the same books over and over again. I don't pick up new books. I can't for the life of me like try to understand why anyone would read a novelization. Not like what you're talking about, but like I don't know. I'd rather just watch a movie than read a book. I
That's
will
so
watch
cool what
the
you just said. I'm sorry, but like the picture I got in my head when you said that, like the thought process I had was you saying to me, "I've got the same 10 books. I just reread them." Right. So my thought process was like, but then you probably just get to a point where you know that what the next word is, or you know what happens next in the book, and then I'm thinking, wait, you could like speed run a book after you've read it so many times, right? Or like speed read a book. You'd be like, you've read the book so many times that you just know each paragraph, and you just like speed reading it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is that I have like all my books are just like they look like this, like they're all fucked up because I've read it so many fucking times.
Yeah.
And they're all dog-eared and whatever. And I know there's people who do that with like lots of books, but no, I
To talk
can't. I
more
don't.
about books, seeing as we're on the conversation of books and the books
Yes.
that you own and the books that you've read, you own a book called Less Than Zero, right?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I wanted to kind of talk about that, I guess. Which you know what I have, that's the other thing. So I have I have multiple copies of the same book, which I guess I don't have that one here, but I have like 3 copies of Less Than Zero.
Oh,
Um,
all the exact same copy or slightly different?
it's like, well, it's a different cover art, so because I think I showed you I have this one, but then I had the original releases, like the different, I guess the different editions of it, not like first edition or anything like that, but just different paperbacks that I've seen. Like there's a used bookstore, and I bought the like the English version or the British version of one of these books, and
Why is
then
there
I
a
have
British
two
version of a
copies.
book? What makes a
Well, it
version
was just
British?
released over there. It was just
Oh, okay.
released over there. Yeah,
Oh,
and
okay.
so I guess someone brought it over and sold it, and it has a different cover, and the price on it is in, whatever currency you guys
GBP.
use. Sure, I guess so. I don't know.
Great British Pound.
Um, yeah, but no, and I took a creative writing class, I remember, and we had like a portion of the class where they were like, "Oh, what are some questions you guys have about, character development or something?" It was just that was what we were doing. We were doing exercises about character development, and I asked if would it ever be okay to intentionally make your character like vague or nondescript. Um, like what if that's the point? Is that okay? Because I think they were trying to say like you have to make sure to fully describe your main character, fully describe it. Otherwise, the reader's not going to ever be able to relate or blah blah blah. And I was like, well, one of my favorite books, they barely describe the main character. And I felt like that was the point. In my interpretation of it, that was the point. But then the teacher said to me, "Well, no, I I don't think it would be very good if anyone ever did that because you have to understand, you still have to try to make money." And I was just like, "But this is creative writing."
Can
I
I
don't
touch
know.
on that slightly as well, but
Yeah.
with my own version of a story, right? So I never took what was it for you? Creative writing, right? I never took
Mhm.
creative writing. I'm just talking standard English lessons in secondary school, which you guys call something else, but like it's between the ages 10 and 15, right? So that
Yeah.
for us is called secondary school. So in an English class, we had to, I guess, write not our own book, but maybe like a chapter or write our own short one-page story or something. I don't know. And I remember in mine, I opened it with um, I opened it with something that was happening in the future, right? So I opened it with like a so here's something happening, and then it cuts back or something, right? I opened it with something that was already happening in the future, and then the rest of the story was cutting back to before that had happened and what led up to it. Um, because sometimes you see that in movies, or you'll see that
Yeah.
in an anime, or sometimes I don't know if you read that in books. I don't know if that's a common thing in books, but my teacher read it and was like, "You can't do that."
Uh. Ugh.
I don't remember what the reasoning for it was. I just remember that it bummed me the fuck out because I thought it was really creative, and that is the type of thing that I like, where like you'll be in one scene, it's like here's something that's happening, and then the rest of the movie is like what led to that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I wanted to do, and my teacher was just like, "No, you can't do that. That's shit,"
Yeah.
sort of thing. And it made me feel really shit. So yeah, like
No,
it's the
yeah.
same concept, right? It's just like
Oh, I found
wanting
no,
to do
because that
wanting to do something a different way to
yeah.
usual, and then teachers just being like, "No, you can't do that because people won't enjoy it," sort of thing.
Yeah, no, I'm actually like I just remember after that point in the class, I felt really discouraged, and I was like, "Oh, this isn't actually a creative writing class, okay." I had such a shitty attitude after that about it, and so I intentionally wrote just like really gross stuff and would turn it in. Like I think I I don't remember what I this was like when I was 15, but I remember after that happened, I started trying to fit as many porn titles as I could into like the background. Like it like someone would be like reading off something and like I would say that they went up to a bookcase and that they were reading the titles of whatever was in there and then I would just try to put in like what was it like I think there was one that was like 1001 ways to eat my jizz and like just all this like stupid shit that I'd seen and, just under the guise of like, "Oh, but I'm being creative." It's just I'm world building, I guess.
Yeah.
They just would turn my assignments back to me without grading them and just give me zeros. I don't know why I did that, but
Well, you know what? Fuck the system. Okay. Um,
yeah, fuck the system.
and just like another thing, right?
Yeah.
Another thing to talk more about the movie, but also just like fuck the system. I really, really like. He really wanted to see his sister, didn't he? He wanted to go to Japan. He wanted to see his sister. He wanted to see her
Yeah.
again because he loved her. He wanted to fucking touch her and stuff. Um,
Did he sniff her underwear in this movie? Was
yeah,
that a
he sniffs
different
her
movie?
underwear in this movie.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Oh, no.
right.
Okay, yeah.
So, but like he really wanted to get there, but he didn't want to go and get a job. He wanted to do it in the
Yep.
laziest way possible, right? I mean, he didn't plan on sleeping with Victor's mum, but the opportunity came up, so he took it, right? Get the money that way. And
Yeah.
then he ended up, using selling drugs to get money as well. And it's like it's really just wanting to have a way to get money, but not actually get a job because that is just such a chore. Like
It really is.
when you go and get a job to do the
God.
things that you want to do, it takes away from everything, man. You know, I and just seeing that in a movie and seeing that in a character, I'm like, I relate slightly.
Oh yeah,
But
I think he even said it right. Like he's like, oh, fuck that. I'm not gonna get a 9 to 5. Like
yeah, he says, I think, yeah, you're right. He says that,
something like that. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because they're so boring. They're so depressing. Um, but guys, go get a job. Go get a job. But just find a job that you can do. So if you're gonna get,
No. And if you're gonna get a job, what?
I was gonna say like the thing is, I don't, take this with a grain of salt, right?
Mhm.
Um, talking more of a career, not a job, right? If you're gonna go get a career, make it something you like. Make it something you want to do for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
A job is just a job, right? But a career is different to a job. Because like a job is just something you go and get up until the age of, I don't know, 25 or 30, whatever. A job is just there as a threshold, as a thing to get you money, to get you through life, so that you can go
Yeah.
do your educations and so that you can find out what you do want to do with the rest of your life. But when you go get a career, just make it like, and a career is something that you're going to do for the rest of your life, or at least until retirement. Just choose something that you want to do, because otherwise you just end up, whenever you want to do something, you've got no money, and that's the worst.
Well, I'd say like on that, jobs that I've taken where I've been like, well, I don't think I'd hate it. I can do this for a little bit. I've hated those jobs the most. Those are the jobs that like I've the quickest decided, okay, I'm done. I need to go find a new one.
Yeah,
That's a horrible, but it's just like working from home I thought would be super awesome. It
not so
depends on
great.
what you pick. It's
Oh,
not really
okay.
so great. I don't think I would ever sell sell drugs.
No, me neither. I
No.
don't think I could. I
Uh,
don't know anything about drugs. I don't know anything about the product I'm selling. Surely I need to
but
be a better salesperson to sell
yeah,
drugs.
I could, but I can't blame like Linda for she takes an easy job that she was clearly uh,
I
somewhat
would
good
do
at.
Linda's job for money.
Hell yeah.
I wouldn't do whatever
Hell
Oscar chose to do, but I would do what Linda did for
no.
money. Um,
100%. Uh,
Wait, no, going back to Oscar earning his money, I
yeah.
would have sex with someone's mum to get money, but I wouldn't sell drugs to sell to get money.
Yeah, if you could just do that instead. Oh God, you would burn so many bridges. You would get shot so many times. No, that's horrible. Um, why
Yeah,
did we
hey,
have to
if
do
any of my best friends' mums are listening to this podcast,
that?
just hit me up.
Oh God. Let's hope they're not. Um,
Why hope that they're not? What? No, let's hope they are.
I don't want to read about you in the news or something. Don't, that's such a dark joke to make, considering. Okay.
All right. I
Um,
mean, that's the film, right?
yeah, I think
How are we doing
so.
for
I
time? How
mean,
did we do for
no,
time?
we have like 8 minutes. We can cut it. I'm
Yeah,
gonna stop.
yeah.
And let's just talk about the theme. Does it fit the theme? Does it fit February's? Why did I say it like that?
We already
Jesus
did
Christ.
this joke, didn't we? Because I
Did
thought there
we?
was a silent. Yeah, no, we.
I always fuck it
Yeah,
up.
because I was
Does
like
it fit?
October. This is because you did the February thing because
But I
there's an
yes,
R in the middle of February
February,
that makes you go February.
February.
Django.
The Django. What?
Sorry, because I just rewatched that yesterday. I don't know we're
I
watching it
know.
again for the racist month.
Reasons of the month.
Yeah.
We're gonna watch the Django.
But like I
Cool,
rewatched it
cool
yesterday,
February tangent. Yeah.
and one of the hillbillies goes, "Screw you, Django," and he shoots him, and he's like, "The the D's silent, you idiot," or something like that.
Yeah. Yep.
Um,
Well, anyway, yes. Does it fit? Is this a drug movie? Would you
this is
would
definitely
you?
a drug movie. Yeah,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
spoke about this at the start. All of the drug movies that we chose for this month are drug movies. We'll do it
Mhm.
again next episode. We'll say that it's a drug movie because yeah, definitely lots of drugs in this film. We see drug usage, and we see drug sales. So we're seeing what was in Wolf of Wall Street and what was in Go in the same movie.
Yeah, I would say that, I mean, again, I don't know because I have not done this type of drug that he does in this movie, but I would, I guess the idea is that this movie's supposed to feel kind of like one big trip. Um, I mean, when you die, but yeah, I'd say
Which is
it's,
again what the book
yeah,
was about.
yeah,
It's because the
exactly.
book was about it. You die and you go on this trip.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's
So, but I will say, so just to tie that whole thing up, I think the director said, at least one interview, I don't know if he went back on this at any other point, but he did say that the his interpretation of what happened was that Oscar experienced all that stuff as he died, and then he just died, and that was it. It was all just because he took DMT and was killed while he was on DMT.
he was just
And so,
having some insane trip while dying,
yeah,
and
yep,
just picturing all of that. It's like when your life flashes before you as you die,
yeah.
but instead his future life flashed before him, and then he died.
Yeah, it's like do you remember that Black Mirror episode that we watched? Playtest
Yes,
is like that, kind of.
that was a crazy good episode.
It really was.
That
And
episode
it's
could have
not
been a
exactly
movie, and I would have watched that for 2 hours.
Yeah. Yep.
Didn't like the ending of the episode. Thought it was really like, and we've had this conversation before. I felt like the ending of that episode was a cop out. Like, oh, he just dies. I thought he could have survived there and just lived a fucked up life afterwards. This is why I think
That's
it would have
true.
been that episode as a movie would have been great, right? Because say they let him live
I
to the end of that
agree.
instead of him
Yeah.
getting a phone call and it kills him or whatever. Instead of that, it's like they actually he comes out of it in the end, but he never knows what's real anymore, and he's just constantly freaking out.
Which, is the sole reason why I'm scared to ever do hallucinogens. Taking it back to Ends the Void. I ca That's why I've never tried anything like that. Because I've heard stories about people doing these types of drugs and they never fucking come out of those trips. That's terrifying to me.
When you say
I
never come
cannot.
out of, do you just mean like it lasts for an
They
extremely
just,
long time, or like 10 years later they're still having a fucking trip?
yeah, yes, yes,
Wow.
yeah. I mean, I don't know if that's really for real. I've heard just, I mean, there's anecdotes of it, and that's terrifying to me. I can't
That is
imagine that.
scary. I
So,
mean, I think if it was legalized, I'm not going to do something knowing that it's illegal. I'm not a rebel. I'm sorry, guys. But if they ever legalized weed in England, um, I'd probably be down to try that because, as far as I know, and my understanding is, it's just a very chill thing. There's not some crazy ass downside to it.
um, I mean, I'm sure there is for some people. I know. I mean, it doesn't do anything to me, so I don't, I don't know.
Okay.
I think I tried it when I was like 12, and I remember we were smoking in like the attic, and my two friends who were smoking were like moving their hands around, like, whoa, look at and I was just like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? Um,
Can
yeah, that's the
give
end.
give the listener your opinion on the movie one more time, even though you've already done it really once. Honestly, like when you was talking about your rating of the film, you kind of gave your opinion on it there, but just give your
I
opinion on the
think,
film.
I think that the director, I don't want to butcher his name. I keep saying that, but for real. Um, Again, I love him. This movie is, from what I've seen, it's his best movie. Uh, it's something that I think is essential to watch. I feel like my personal time with it has come and gone. Um, it fits the theme, in my opinion, for sure. Uh, it's very, it's an experience, and I think it's an experience that needs to be had for sure by
Yeah,
people
yeah,
if you like
that's a good
movies.
way to explain it. Yeah,
Yeah, I think if you like movies and you can tolerate some heavy themes, some depressing stuff, somewhat, um, then yeah, I think it's definitely worth a watch.
I
Um,
as a
yeah.
first time viewer of this movie, really enjoyed it. This is
Mhm.
probably your third or fourth time watching this film, right? So for you,
Yeah.
it's gone down in watch value. That's all it is. Whereas when you first watched it, you really enjoyed it, and that's how I feel with this film at this point. in just watching it for the first time, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed all of the cutscenes that they do for this film. The way that they transition between scenes was really cool. With like the camera work, that was fantastic.
Yeah.
I liked all of the colors in this film. It was a very vibrant film, like very colorful everywhere. Um,
Yeah, yeah, that is one thing.
yeah.
That's I
Um,
like I would still like what want like a poster of the cover somewhere in my room. Like it looks fucking amazing. The movie's beautiful, to be
yeah.
honest. It really is. But yeah.
I want to say, if you haven't seen the film already, I'm sure there may come a day where we watch a film that I don't say this on. Maybe. But I think
Yeah.
if you haven't seen this film already and you want to, go watch it. Because I don't think we gave. I don't think we've spoiled the whole thing. Um,
No, no, certainly not.
it's still worth a watch and it's still a great film. I think you should give it a go, guys. Tune in
All right.
again on Wednesday. Thanks for listening the whole way through. We'll see
Thank
you
you.
Wednesday. I'm Matthew, and this is.
Danielle. Okay, bye.